I'm Rob Wynn, director of the VCU Massey Cancer Center. Women in Wellness is a time-honored tradition celebrating its 26th year and over $5 million raised to advance the treatment of women in cancer and cancer research. At Massey, we really believe in this concept of connectedness. And as I was thinking about all the songs that we're playing, I think we missed one, and that is a song that many of you probably know, written by Johnny Bristol, sung by the Supremes. That is Diana Ross, Florence Ballard, and who could forget Mary Wells, who just recently passed today, and we remember her fondly. Mm-hmm. And that song was Someday We'll Be Together. Now, I know many of us didn't think that we would be together quite like this virtually, but we still are together. So like the song said, ain't no mountain high enough to keep me from being with you. And so today we're here to celebrate. I remember that I first met you all last year at the Jefferson Hotel to celebrate the 25th year of the Women in Wellness. I want to thank you all for the dedicated individuals who poured their passion into the longevity of this and the sustainability of this event. I also recently finished up the first year, and it has been a doozy. I would not have predicted the pandemic, nor would I have predicted many of the other things that have happened this year. But one thing is for certain, we've come together as a united group and making sure that while COVID is still here, that we understand that cancer happened before COVID, cancer is happening now during COVID, and certainly cancer will exist after COVID. And so our fight against cancer doesn't stop.
So I am Reba Hollingsworth with CBS 6 News, and we have a great partnership with Massey, where each month we tell the story of through the eyes of doctors and survivors through our Buddy Check 6 segment. And again, I just love that partnership. And first of all, let me just say, welcome to everyone. I know Dr. Wynn had started that. I know it's very different, and just being here for the 26th annual Women in Wellness event and our very first virtual one. And like so many of you who are watching us right now, I love going to the Jefferson for the Women in Wellness event and just being around my friends and hearing from these dynamic speakers. And if you've never been to this event, it is such an elegant affair, but tradition of Women in Wellness is still strong, whether we're in person or if we're doing it virtually. This event has been about bringing women together, strong, dynamic, and compassionate women and leaders of both genders to advance women's cancer health. More than anything, Women in Wellness is about hope. And boy, we can use some hope right now, a lot going on. So again, we're just gonna kick everything off. I know we had some technical difficulties, but that's just the world that we're living in. And I just want to kind of move along and get the program going, because I know we have a lot of people watching us and want to get a lot of this good information from us this afternoon. Now, over a course of its history, Women in Wellness and you have raised millions of dollars that have led to innovative research, recruitment of top doctors, specialists to Massey, and improved outcomes. And in case you didn't hear this, last year's event raised $430,000. And while this year was anything but traditional, Massey still had many friends and sponsors who spontaneously stood up to show their support. Now, last I heard it was $31,000 that we have raised so far, but I know that's much higher. It may be more than $35,000. So just shake your head if that's true. I think it's more than $35,000. It's very impressive, and especially what we're going through right now. We want to thank our 2021 Women in Wellness sponsors. And here's a list of them right here: ACG, the Actuarial Consulting Group, Buckingham Greenery, CBS 6 WTVR, the media sponsor, Davenport and Company, KPMG, SW Funk Industrial Contractors Incorporated, Patient First, Town Bank, and Weinstein Properties. And our generous friends of Women in Wellness and Legacy Committee, Dr. and Mrs. Douglas Arthur, Anne and Roger Bove, Kathy Funk, hi Kathy, Palmer Garson, Susan and Mike Grassick, Liz Hart, Terrell Harrigan, Cynthia Haw, Connie Home, Carol Royal, Judy Forehand Starkey, and Ann Whittemore. I want to say thank you to all of them, our friends and our supporters of Women in Wellness. The incredible community that is Massey Nation is stepped in to make tribute gifts in honor of, in memory of our loved ones. And we hope you were able to see those inspiring tribute messages at the beginning of the webinar. And we're also going to play them again at the end of the webinar. And there is still time to make a tribute gift to someone special in your life. And finally, our Reimagine Women in Wellness event would not have been possible without the commitment, the flexibility, and the vision of our dedicated volunteer leaders to keep tradition alive. And we want to thank many friends who helped reimagine this year's presentation and trying to do all this web stuff and all that stuff. So if we can do a virtual hand clap to all those who have helped, we appreciate all of what you've been doing for weeks now, months now. So we appreciate your help. And as we move along and you think of questions you may want to ask, because we have a great panel this afternoon, you can see the Q&A right there and just put your questions in there. And feel free to say hello and chat with others in the chat feature. As a webinar, we can't see you, so just let us know who you are and what inspired you to log on today, and that would really help us out a lot. As we continue to move along with our program this afternoon, today we are proud to recognize the more and more women every year and every day are surviving and thriving with cancer. And we are about to hear from someone who definitely fits that bill today. Farah Massenberg, she is a wife, she is a mother, a business professional, a Monacan High School and VCU graduate. Beautiful inside and out. She is sassy, she is fun-loving, creative, and just a dynamic woman. Can you hear me? And she is currently a Massey breast cancer patient. And as you can see from the presentation, Farah is the supplier diversity manager at WM Jordan Company, where she works with small women and minority-owned businesses. Now, she asked us to acknowledge them today for their grace and their support for her since her diagnosis. And thank you, WM Jordan Company, for prioritizing inclusion and compassion as part of your business, because we know that's a big deal because work still continues even during treatment. So we appreciate companies like WM Jordan. Now, I had the privilege of spending time with Farah last week for this month's Buddy Check 6 report on CBS 6. And I have to say, I love Farah's positivity. I love her honesty. I love her humor, and I love her faith. Just a beautiful soul. And I know you're going to be inspired by her as much as I have. So take a look at this story.
I would say it, or I would talk in an English accent, like, I have breast cancer.
For anyone who knows Farah Massenberg, they know she finds the humor in just about anything.
You're trying to have some light in the darkness somewhere.
That dark time came November 16th of 2019 when Farah was breastfeeding her baby girl.
I kept feeling it and kept feeling it, and it felt like a small acorn. It felt like a hard rock. I automatically knew it wasn't supposed to be there.
That gut feeling led Farah to see her doctor to get the knot in her right breast checked out.
And then she's like laughing at my jokes, and then all of a sudden the smile just goes serious. And then she pops the rubber glove off and she tells me that she wants me to get an ultrasound.
The wife and mother of 4 would have an emergency biopsy, confirming what she already knew: breast cancer.
Everything pauses when you hear it's cancerous.
With her husband by her side, telling her family and her children was one of the toughest parts.
My 13-year-old, she got real teary-eyed and emotional. And the first thing she thinks of, try not to get emotional, that mommy's gonna die.
Leaning on her faith, Farah would begin treatments at VCU Massey Cancer Center, an aggressive form of chemo.
I got my hair done just to go to chemo, and I bought some new lipstick. I thought I was Superwoman after I got it, because I was like, oh, this is it? Psh, what?
After that first treatment, chemo got more intense, sending Farah to the hospital multiple times for complications and infections. After her third treatment, she suffered a seizure in the arms of her firefighter EMT husband.
He knows and have seen it before, but he said it's a lot different when it's your wife doing it.
Farah's other battle, her hair, coming out in clumps.
My scalp was so sensitive, it felt like somebody was just constantly pulling my scalp as hard as they could.
Farah would eventually shave it all off.
I would cry and I would get really emotional because here I am, I'm changing.
The biggest change came in May. Farah chose to have a double mastectomy.
I didn't want one that looked like an orange and one that looked like an eggplant.
Through all of her jokes and countless shades of lipstick,
I could do it with my eyes closed too.
Farah hopes her journey will encourage other women to know their own bodies and get checked regularly.
And that was Miss Farah and her story. We're going to talk with Farah. She's going to join us a little bit later, and we're going to ask her a few questions on how she's doing now, and just kind of talk about her attitude. As you saw in the story, you know, she just does things with humor. So I just love her outlook on life. So we want to move along to our panelists right now. Our panelists today are 4 rock star women doctors who are here to talk with us about Massey Women's Cancer Health and some exciting advancements in research being done right here in Richmond to improve treatment options and outcomes for women in all cancers. And please join me in welcoming Dr. Mary Helen Hackney, Susan Hong, Kandace McGuire, and Leslie Randall. Each are compassionate caregivers, skilled physicians, innovative researchers, and strong women. Dr. Hackney, Dr. Randall, Dr. McGuire, and Dr. Hong, all welcome. Can all of you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi.
Oh, you look beautiful. I saw Dr. Hackney earlier.
Yeah, Reba, I don't see Dr. Hackney. I'm trying to message.
She was on earlier. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and throw out a question. We're going to hope that Dr. Hackney joins us. Since, you know, each of you represent a different yet overlapping specialty, but I wanted to kind of level the playing field and give you all the same question and ask about thriving with cancer. What does that mean to you? In one sentence, what does thriving with cancer mean to you, and why is it so important to you and to Massey?
All right, well, I can go ahead and get started.
Yeah.
I think when I think about thriving with cancer, I think about a phrase I've heard again and again, which is that as a cancer patient, specifically as a Massey patient, that although you may have cancer, cancer doesn't have you. And it is the job of everybody at Massey to ensure that every woman, every patient and their families live their best lives with cancer, and in many cases, well beyond cancer. But that's what thriving means. You're still you. This is just one part of it.
Yes, well said. Dr. Randall.
Yeah, I feel really strongly about that and agree wholeheartedly. You know, I think it's all about identity. You know, why does it bother you that your hair is falling out? It's because, you know, it just defines who you are, and you just don't feel like yourself. And you look in the mirror when it's gone and you don't recognize that person. And I think that that's really difficult. And, you know, thriving with cancer is all about quality of life. You know, I tell my patients, we haven't really done you any favors if we've helped you live, but we've destroyed your life in the process or destroyed your identity. And, you know, we have to help preserve that, respect that, honor that. And really, the patients will do it. You know, it's nothing that the doctor has to do. You just have to invite them, and that's okay to do that. They feel like they have to be grateful to be alive, and they're not allowed to think about these icing on the cake issues, but you invite that, you create a space for that to continue to develop.
So true. You know what, when you're talking about changing, that's one thing that Farah said that was emotional for her, is like she felt like she was changing, and not just the hair, but a lot of things that was going on during that time. Dr. Hong, that question for you.
Well, for me, thriving with cancer is survivorship. It's really about patient-centered, holistic care so that you can be the best possible person, that we can help navigate you through the entire care continuum. And many individuals actually complete treatment feeling a positive effect. You know, it's not something that obviously anybody wants to go through, but a lot of, especially women, talk about the positive impact that something like this has had. And that's what we all strive to empower women and to make them feel whole or better than they were.
So true. Well, we're still waiting on Dr. Hackney, but we're going to move on with the program. I'm going to introduce each doctor, kind of tell, you know, your background and ask you a couple questions. But, you know, we want this to be a very fluid conversation. So if there's a question or something you want to chime in on or answer, feel free to do that as well. So we want to begin with Dr. Leslie Randall is Massey's Director of Gynecological Oncology and Diane Harris Wright Professorship for OBGYN Oncology Research. Dr. Randall is an accomplished clinician and skilled surgeon with expertise in minimally invasive and robotic procedures and a leader in clinical trials. She is the Cervical Cancer Clinical Trials Advisor for the Gynecologic Oncology Group Foundation Partners Leadership Committee and serves on national committees dedicated to improving the lives of cancer patients through multi-institutional clinical and translational research. That's a lot going on with that title. A lot going on, Dr. Randall. So tell me about, first question for you, how important are clinical trials in helping cancer patients thrive?
You know, thanks, Reba, for that question. Clinical trials are really everything, and we don't know how to take care of patients well if we don't do clinical trials. Clinical trials, it sounds like such a scary thing. It sounds like this big experiment. It's not an experiment. Everything, if you go to the doctor for an ear infection and they give you an antibiotic and they don't know if it's going to work or not, that's a clinical trial. Like everything that we do in the doctor's office is a clinical trial. That name, that label, I think it just can sound so scary. But everything that we do for patients has been based on clinical trials. You don't want treatment that hasn't been either based on results of a clinical trial or is part of a new clinical trial looking for how to improve the treatment that we already have.
And how do you kind of touched on it, but how do you explain clinical trials and how do you use it for everyday patient care?
I think the most important thing for patients to understand is, number one, how important it is to advancing the field. And number two, people want to participate in clinical trials. They want to give back. They want to help forward the science and forward our learning about their type of cancer. I think most people's reservation is that they're concerned that somehow it's going to affect their outcome in a bad way. Like somehow it's going to compromise their outcome. So they're kind of taking a risk by participating in a clinical trial. I think the most important thing is to kind of understand that. And then you have to ask patients, if they're reluctant to participate, what it is that they're concerned about and address that very specific issue, because I may assume that I know why you don't want to, but I may have no idea. You just never really know. So you just have to listen to our patients. You have to listen.
You know, this next question really could be for any of you here on the panel is, how important is it, the philanthropic part of it in terms of trials and what you do at Massey all the time? How important is that when we have events like this, like Women in Wellness?
Well, I think.
Who wants to take? Dr. Hackney, you want to take that one?
Yeah, can you hear me?
It still says your microphone is on mute as well, but I can hear you, which is weird.
That says, well, I think philanthropy is sort of a key factor. Are you getting an echo or is it just me?
Yes. So I'm gonna go to Dr. McGuire on that one. We're gonna see if we're gonna fix your mic.
Yeah, we can figure out. Martha, you can sign off.
So, yeah, I would say that philanthropy is essential to clinical trials. I mean, there are certainly some clinical trials that are prompted by an interesting new drug, and the drug company that has developed that drug is going to put some money into testing it. But especially as a surgeon, my surgical technique is never going to be sponsored by a drug company. So if I want to bring a new technique to my patients, I need the generosity of others so that I can get that first bit of funding to get started. So I can take what's an idea and make it a small trial that then becomes a bigger trial that then may eventually get funded by a large group or by the federal government. But especially for surgical trials and trials that have nothing to do with medications, trials that have to do with thriving, quality of life stuff that I'm sure Dr. Hong can speak to. These are trials that will never get funded without the generosity of others.
Very true. Dr. Hung, I know you just moved to Richmond not too long ago, but I'm sure other practices you've been involved with, I mean, it's the same. You need that philanthropic arm.
You do. And what I think we also need to stress is philanthropy also helps improve access to trials. It actually pays for a lot of things that the trials may not be able to cover. So transportation for patients who may have transportation issues. And so it actually gives a lot of our patients equitable care. And I think that that's a really, really important part so that everybody has access to equal care.
Mm-hmm. Equitable care is something Dr. Nguyen that's, really pushes here. Dr. Hackney, can you hear us now? We hear you.
I can see you. I can hear you. Oh dear.
We hear the echo again.
I don't know where that came from here. Obviously, I'm the one having some technical issues on this end. So I think they're switching my role.
Okay. So we're gonna come back to you then.
Now we're in the bed. Can you hear me now?
Still an echo.
Okay. I do not know.
I'm so sorry. Oh, I had computer issues too today, so don't worry.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and introduce Dr. McGuire. Dr. Kandace McGuire is Chief of Breast Surgery and Surgical Leader of Massey Multidisciplinary Breast Health Program. Dr. McGuire specializes in complex breast surgeries and managing patients in post-chemotherapy surgical settings to provide the best possible outcomes and appearance. Her research focuses on minimizing breast cancer surgical interventions as well as reducing treatment disparities. Dr. McGuire has been with Massey since 2017. And good to see you again. I interview you often for Buddy Check 6. So talk to me about what you do at Massey in terms of the trials. You kind of touched on what, when I asked that question previously, but how does that play a role in what you do every single day?
I think, every single day we're looking to not only practice the standard of care, but advance the standard of care. And so in order to do that, that requires the utilization of clinical trials. And so every time that I meet a new person and I want to make sure that I'm giving them the best care possible, I'm thinking about not only the standard of care, but the next step. And are they eligible for a clinical trial? And so that's the first place that a patient's going to hear about a clinical trial, usually is from their treating physician. And so that's really, it's an inherent part of all of our tumor boards, of all of our patient care experiences is that we will always be talking about trials that are available and what benefit they may have to the patient.
And not to put anybody in the spot, but how many trials do you think you have going on currently at Massey all at once right now?
Oh my goodness. I can't really give you a number, but this is oh gosh, you can't see it with the background.
About 100.
But yeah.
I think it's at least 100, right?
Yeah, this is it. Yeah, so this is it's about 100, and you can see pages and pages and pages of clinical trials. These are not just for women. They're not just for breast or for gynecologic cancers. These are for all of our patients, but we have hundreds of trials available.
Yeah. We're actively and quickly ramping that up because that will contribute to we're going for what we call NCI Comprehensive Cancer Center designation. And in order to get that designation, we need to have even more clinical trials. So we're actively increasing that number.
Yeah, and if you can explain the NCI designation, what does that mean? Because you see it on TV sometimes, you see it written somewhere, but what does that mean?
That means that's a designation that's given by the National Cancer Institute, which is part of the National Institutes of Health. So basically what your taxpayer dollars pay for to contribute to research and cancer care. It means that a cancer center that's capable of providing all aspects of cancer care and also capable of doing all types of cancer research. So we do lab research, we do clinical research with patients, we do translational research, which is kind of the bridge in between. And then translational research is also, and this is Dr. Nguyen's big push, is pushing out what we learn in the clinic out to the community to make sure that not only are we learning about diseases that we're getting people access to those new findings and those new treatments. And so in order for, if you have a center where everyone's doing that in a concerted effort, instead of everyone just sort of like doing their thing and trying to, just going about their day and taking care of cancer patients. In a comprehensive center, everyone is working together in concert in order to move the field forward in all aspects of care.
And Dr. McGuire, let me ask you, in terms of breast cancer, because I know that's your specialty. Can you talk about, can you pinpoint maybe one of the trials that, has really benefited the care of breast cancer patients?
Absolutely. I mean, I can think of at least probably 5 to 10 off the top of my head, but I think one thing that almost every breast cancer patient experiences, if they've had an invasive breast cancer, is sampling of their lymph nodes. And so that has been something that has seen a significant change in how that's done, not only over the course of the last 20 years, but even within the last 5 years. We started 20 years ago where if you had an invasive cancer, no matter how big nor how small, you would have all the lymph nodes underneath your armpit removed, which led to approximately, 40 to 50% chance of lymphedema, which is arm swelling, which is not, it's treatable, but not curable. And so over time, with lots and lots of research that Massey patients took part in, we realized that was not necessary for every patient. And now we know that even if some of those lymph nodes are positive on a less invasive biopsy, that we still don't need to remove all those lymph nodes. So that's really been something that's been very transformational for me, something that Massey has definitely taken part in, and something that we continue to develop. So now we're looking at, if you do have to have all those lymph nodes removed, is there still a way to preserve that drainage from your arm to prevent lymphedema? So it's amazing to see the transformation from, when I was a medical student now to where I'm at now, and knowing that the future is even better. It's really just so much more personalized and more attentive to quality of life.
That is so true. Thank you, Dr. McGuire. And I think Dr. Hackney is still working on her microphone. I want to bring in right now Dr. Susan Hong. And Dr. Hong is director of Massey's newly established Cancer Survivorship program, where she will lead a robust and integrated clinic with the goal to improve patient experiences, satisfaction, and outcomes. Dr. Hong comes to Massey from the University of Illinois Cancer Center, where she built the first comprehensive breast cancer survivorship program in Illinois and the first cancer survivorship program in the country to be embedded within a federally qualified healthcare system. Welcome, Dr. Hong, not only to the Women in Wellness event, but welcome to Richmond. Is it cold enough for you compared to Illinois?
It's lovely. It's so lovely.
Thank you so much for being here. When we hear this word cancer survivorship, this is what you do. How would you explain that to someone if someone asked?
Well, so for me, and this is where the country's going, it's about holistic, comprehensive, patient-centered care. It's always been about that, but it's really in the last decade, the medical community has sort of moved towards this. What I think is wonderful about Massey is everybody gets it. At many other cancer programs, there's still sort of this, what is survivorship? Is it transitioning patients after active treatment? And here, everybody gets that it is really from the time of diagnosis. It's about wraparound, holistic, comprehensive care so that when patients complete treatment, we've done everything in our power to minimize the long-term negative health effects.
And so what do you want to do here at Massey? What's your goal here with cancer survivorship?
So one of my major goals is really to set the standard of how survivorship care is viewed and delivered nationally. So there are many different types of survivorship programs throughout the country, but I really think that the best programs are patient-centered. They focus on the patient's needs at the time of diagnosis. They're multidisciplinary. They work collaboratively with all the cancer specialists and the supportive services. And they have core components like palliative care, integrative medicine, cancer genetics. These are things that touch on every person, regardless of what type of cancer they have.
And so I know there are other cancer centers out there. What made you want to come to Massey?
So the mission and the vision of Massey is very much at the heart of what appeals to me. It is, having somebody like Dr. Nguyen, who is so passionate about cancer health equity, is a huge appeal. But there's a lot at VCU that makes life so much easier for me to build a comprehensive program. It's in a robust academic environment. It has robust supportive services. It has great physicians, surgeons. And so my job is actually pretty easy. Everybody here has been so incredibly embracing.
Again, welcome to Richmond.
Thank you.
I think we have Dr. Hackney with us. Hi, Dr. Hackney.
Hello, I think we've got it all worked out.
We've got you.
Yay!
Yay!
All right, and my beautiful purple background disappeared, so I apologize. But
that's okay. But you know what? Let me introduce you to everyone who is watching us right now. Dr. Mary Helen Hackney is a medical oncologist at Massey, specializing in the treatment of breast cancer and hematology, oncology, and palliative care. She oversees Massey's medical oncology partnerships with community health system and is passionate about educating the public on cancer screening, prevention, and survivorship. Dr. Hackney is an instrumental member of Massey's Rural Care Outreach Program dedicated to bringing cancer awareness and cancer care to rural parts of Virginia. And she has been a leader and a champion of women's cancer health at Massey for 25 years. And I love that you and Dr. McGuire are always so available whenever I need to do an interview. So I appreciate that as well. So you've been at Massey a quarter century, and describe what has changed, what's moved from the space of just surviving cancer and patients are thriving.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things we have to tell people about, and I always like to start with, we know that cancer death rate is declining. That came out from American Cancer Society recently, but the incidence is still there. So we're still seeing plenty of patients. One of the biggest things that we've seen over the past 25 years is how well we can take care of patients. And we have this whole team here. When I first started practice, we did not have ondansetron and some of our antiemetics. We basically had to put people to sleep for 8-10 hours so that they could get their chemotherapy because we didn't have good nausea medicines. We now have great nausea medicine so people can come and get their treatment. And then they can feel like they can do well and be able to live life. We have portacats, IV access. We didn't have those very often 25, 30 years ago, which made IVs traumatic for patients. Our drugs are better. Our side effect management is better. And so chemotherapy is not fun. I mean, no one's ever going to enjoy having chemotherapy.
Right.
But we can take care of you so much better during chemotherapy. And so people can still live their lives. And one of the things I always talk about in the communities is not to fear the treatment. I have people who are more fearful of treatment than fearful of cancer. And I'm going like, between all of my colleagues, on this panel and all of our team at Massey, we can take care of you during treatment. You're going to be able to maybe not work as hard or as fast, but we want you to exercise. We want you to eat. We want you to be with your family. We want you to work. We want you to do the things that make you whole. And that has been, such a change over the past 25 years and how we can care for you so that you can get through this big road bump in life and not make it a roadblock in life.
Very true.
So that's a key factor.
Dr. Randall touched on this, but I also want to ask you about the NCI designation. What does that mean for us here in Richmond and at Massey?
Well, I think, when you think of NCI, that means we're one of 71 cancer centers in the US that have undergone this really rigorous review and have this set of standards we have to meet. And so we're pretty lucky. We're here in Central Virginia. Because of that, we have access to thought leaders across the United States, across the world, but we also are the home to some of those thought leaders. Dr. Steve Grant, one of my colleagues, is internationally known for his work with acute leukemia and developing new drugs. Some of our faculty who are over in biochemistry have been involved in developing some new drugs that are now used worldwide. So we serve Richmond, Central Virginia. We serve every county in our state, but yet we also have those connections throughout the world to bring care here and to collaborate. And I think one of the joys of being in an academic center is that there is that collaboration, that you have the ability to talk to somebody who will talk to a physician in Houston or a physician in Sloan Kettering, and you may work jointly to form a treatment plan. Or a patient may come here because we have something no one else has. So we've got that collaboration, and I think that really makes it a special place. You know, one of the things I think we really do well, and I think we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, is we have what we call multidisciplinary groups. And if you want to bring a lot of energy and brain thought into it, we have 12 of them now. We started with breast around 1990, because that was before I joined. And then we continue to have them now. GYN oncology, breast, GI, GU, melanoma, sarcoma. At these multidisciplinary, when you come to Massey, your case is discussed with this team that's surgeon, med-onc, rad-onc, pathology, radiology, genetics, everybody. So you get this collaborative care plan set up for you. And that's bringing all that knowledge in from NCI trials, from NCI education, from NCI collaboration to your team here to make that best treatment for you. And you can go as a one-stop shopping. You know, we can do it, put the whole package together. And I think that's one thing that makes us very unique for our community, for our state, but also that is part of what we do because we're an NCI center. We want that collaboration and bringing all that knowledge together as we make your plans.
So true.
So those are kind of some of the key things I like to say.
That was well said. Thank you very much. So I'm going to have the doctors hold tight just for a moment. We're going to ask you some more questions, and the people who are watching, if you have a question for anyone on the panel here, is just to submit the questions in the Q&A, and we're going to try to have the doctors answer those questions. But I want to bring in Farah now, because we ran Farah's story just a few moments ago. I had the pleasure of interviewing Farah for Buddy Check 6. She is a breast cancer patient right now going through her treatment. And Farah, I just wanted to ask you, how are you doing now, today, this very moment?
I am, well, good morning. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm hanging in there, doing as well as expected. I just had surgery, so I have been in pain, but I'm alive to feel the pain. So I love that. I love life. I seek out joy, of course, reasons to laugh, and of course, nice bright lipsticks. I love my lipsticks, especially going through this moment right now. All of these things are really important to me in life, and especially when challenges, of course, like cancer come our way. So thank you all for having me today.
Thank you for being here. You know, you describe yourself, and I kind of mentioned it in the story, yourself as a comedian at heart. What does laughter do for you?
Oh my gosh. I do feel like I'm a comedian a lot sometimes. I like acting like I'm filming a YouTube channel, cooking, making, creating things. I like making my husband laugh. He thinks that's the funniest thing. Oh my goodness. I do that when I'm baking a lot of different meals or trying to create different things just to have fun and laugh. I love to smile. It feels good to see and hear other people smile and laugh. Just because a smile is silent, it's the loudest thing that somebody can do to help somebody else feel better. You never know what someone is going through.
Yeah, there was a saying, laughter is the best medicine. Sometimes it just
makes you
feel good, right?
It really is. I love to laugh.
And you said your favorite quote is "use your power wisely." What does that mean?
Oh, use your power wisely is something that I have been saying since I was 19 years old. So I'm 44. I do not mind telling my age. Whether you are a parent, a teacher, a friend, a partner, business professional, you have power, and it's up to you to lead in a powerful way and own up to your own mistakes. At work, I use my power in ways to help out small businesses. So in my life, my power is laughter, love, and I really try to be positive.
And you were diagnosed, and you're doing your treatment at Massey. How's that journey been for you?
It's been a journey. It has been a journey. I can tell you at the beginning when you're choosing your team, and that's how they bring it to you. You're choosing your team. I sat down and I talked with Dr. Vachani, and she saw me as a person, not a sick person, not a patient, but she saw me as a person. And being at Massey has been just absolutely great, and just everything that I've gone through. Last year was a hard year, but I got through it. I got through with the help of Massey. They go down and they give you detailed information of what to expect, asking how you are, what can they do. They give you a point of contact person that you can just call and harass as much as you want. So that has helped. They're so amazing. Massey is so caring, and the support and love that I've seen at Massey has given me a lot of motivation and a lot of encouragement, and the continued support in my continuous journey that I have now.
And we're going to be rooting for you and praying for you. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, you know what? Vera kind of touched on it, and one of the doctors said it too, and I can't remember which one, but that personalized care, that it's not just care for everybody, but it's just for that individual. What do you, how do you go about, especially for the doctors here on the panel, how do you approach that personalized care?
I think one thing is having that plan laid out and knowing your team. I think that makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's really about getting to know each individual patient and what their concerns are, what their family structure, what their support network. And so that's why there isn't a one size fits all. Right. Even though we have sort of a team structure, the team accommodates each patient's needs. And I can tell you that I've been fortunate enough to listen to the tumor board, participate in the tumor boards and listen to how people, how tumor groups decide on which trials to take up at Massey. And there's a lot of discussion about, is this beneficial for our patients? Is this something that our patients can benefit? What are the challenges our patients going to have? And so it really is about thinking about our patients, our community.
Dr. Randall, you want to take that personalized care?
Yeah, I think part of it is just having the, I always tell, I train residents and fellows, and I tell them, the best gift that you can give your patients is your skills. So I think you have to have the skill level to know anticipate what they're going to need, and then listen to them to understand how you're going to integrate that into their life, where they're at. So how you meet that up. And what Dr. Hong is saying is, she's seeing this in action. This is what we're doing, and this is what we're thinking when we're having these discussions.
Very true. Dr. McGuire?
Yeah, I would just echo everything that everyone else has said, but I did want to I've been peeking in the Q&A box here, and I did notice that someone talked about immunotherapy and the latest genetic and genomic testing. And part of personalized therapy is not only treating the person, treating their particular situation, but also treating those things that they bring to the table that they have no control over, like your genetics and the genomics, which are the genetics of your tumor. And so those are things that we have amazing access to at Massey, and we're looking every day for new opportunities. Because not only is you the fact that you're a mom or an attorney or a marathoner, it's also why did this happen, and what can we do to drill down on what we can do to help you and help your particular tumor, because your tumor is not your sister's tumor, it's not your cousin's tumor, it's not your hairdresser's tumor. So it's definitely an incredibly personalized experience. And holistic as well.
Dr. Hackney was talking about, we've seen a lot of breakthroughs and changes at Massey through the trials. What do you see in the future? I mean, it's good now. How does it get even better?
Well, I think one thing we may be seeing is that we're probably going to be defining cancer differently. I think as we learn more and more about the genomics, the genetics of the cancer itself, that we may not describe it as breast cancer, but we may describe it as a cancer with these gene abnormalities, and that the treatment's going to be focused based on those gene abnormalities within the cancer. And so I think that's probably where the next steps are going to be, as complicated as that will be, because we still have so much to learn about what triggers a cancer. Mm-hmm. I'm just there, sort of can't, I'm looking at some of the questions that come through here too. And so the hard thing also is, can we ever tell anybody that they're cured? And so that really becomes a challenge with, can you say somebody is cured? Cured means that you never have to worry about it again. And that's probably one of the biggest challenges that people have long-term, is how can you relax? And they're continuing to look at circulating DNA in the blood, circulating tumor cells, that maybe we'll be able to give people a little bit of relaxation in the future by being able to say no evidence of cancer cells there. But that has been very hard to, we're not there yet. We're getting there.
We're getting there.
I think that's the other piece. People worry about, even when you're a survivor 2, 3, 4 years out, have an ache or pain. Is that something to worry about? How do you have some relaxation and confidence that you can go forward in living? And so we need a little bit better testing yet still.
We are seeing some of the questions that are coming through. I'm going to grab one, but does anyone else want to take that question in the future real quick? And I'm going to grab a question from one of the viewers in just a moment.
I would just say, I think that the future is just so incredibly bright. I think, in terms of what we've been able to do thus far in breast and gynecologic cancers, these used to be death sentences. And I think Dr. Randall can talk to that as well. And the fact that we see so many women living, that we have Dr. Hong here, whose only job is to plan out survivorship for all of our survivors that we have. I mean, it's an incredibly bright future. And we just need to build upon it and find ways to make the already good even better.
Dr. Hong?
Yeah, no, I was going to say, back in the 70s, there were roughly, 3.5 million cancer survivors. And now we're up to 18, 19 million cancer survivors and growing. So it's, and the fact that I can meet a woman with metastatic breast cancer and say, it's a chronic disease. The fact that I can give and tell women the positive aspects of their advanced cancer is incredible. So
I'm reading some of the comments, and a lot of shout outs to Farah to keep smiling, keep wearing that lipstick and all that, and keep smiling and be positive, and God bless you. And thank you for sharing your story, Farah. Someone asked, what is, I think I lost it. What is life like after cancer? Farah, I know you're still going through it, but how has your life changed? You were diagnosed in 2019, right? End of 2019, November. How has life changed for you?
Life has changed in a lot of different ways. It's not just me that it affects. It affects my husband, my children, my family, my mother, my father, brothers, sisters. It affects everyone. So one thing I have always not done, I have never said, you don't know what I'm going through, because even though I'm going through it, I don't know how it's affecting them. So the way that I have changed, I tried to eat healthy in the beginning, but you were told that you can be the healthiest and it still hit you. So I just tried to constantly stay positive, and 85% is mental. You have to stay completely positive. I try to constantly just focus on what I need to do, stay on top of my do's and don'ts that Dr. Vachani gives me. I stay in contact with my doctors when it comes to the surgery, when I'm healing, how I'm feeling. And they're concerned about not just physical. I'd let them know mentally how I'm doing. I try to tell a couple of jokes to get them to laugh too. So you have to laugh at yourself. I've laughed at myself in many different processes, and I laugh with my brothers and my sisters. So you just have to, you have to smile. You have to, because I was meant to have this life for a reason. So I'm going to do my best with it.
Well said. Thank you, Farah. We have a question that came in from a viewer, Don. Don says, when you are told more than once that your breasts are dense, is that cause for concern? Dr. Hackney or Dr. McGuire?
Yeah, I can definitely feel that one. So breast density, we know, is a risk factor for breast cancer. It is not the #1 risk factor. And what it does mean is that you are at a slightly higher risk, and that it also would be more difficult to detect your cancer on a standard mammogram. But it is not such a high risk in and of itself that it makes us do anything else other than be very aware of our breasts, and also to make sure that you're advocating for yourself when you're getting your breast imaging. Here at Massey, we're working to offer not only every patient with dense breasts, but every patient 3D mammography or tomosynthesis. And we're not there quite yet, mostly due to some payers and some out-of-pocket expenses. But we are getting there. And so 3D mammography takes some of that density away and makes it easier to detect small cancers in women with dense breasts. So it is something to be aware of and something to be an advocate for yourself about, but it is not the #1 risk factor for breast cancer.
True. You want to weigh in, Dr. Hackney?
Well, I was going to say the other thing is, we're in the time of COVID, and a lot of people are getting nervous about getting their screening during COVID. And the only way we're going to have all these cancer survivors is through appropriate screening. And so don't be afraid to come get your mammogram. Don't be afraid to see your gynecologist if you need to, or at the wrong, if it's the right time. There are multiple ways of screening for colon cancer. But physicians' offices are paying a lot of attention to COVID, and we don't want anybody catching it at our places. So do get your screening, because the way we've made the difference with all of these cancer survivors that Dr. Hong referred to is because people are catching it earlier, and we can intervene. And if we intervene earlier, then we can hopefully have more survivors. So please don't neglect screening in the time of COVID.
And Dr. Hackney, you mentioned HER2. And Farah, you were HER2 positive, am I correct? Can you explain?
Yeah, that's correct.
Dr. Hackney, can you explain what is HER2?
So
what does that mean?
HER2, so all breast cancers get characterized, get profiled, and we look at something called the estrogen receptor, the progesterone receptor, and the HER2 protein. And only about 1 out of 5 breast cancers have the HER2 protein. But over the past 10, 15 years, there's been a whole slew of new drugs that are directed against cancers that have that protein. And it has made a huge difference in reducing the recurrence of that type of breast cancer. And so that like over 50% improvement in reduction of the cancer coming back. So it is one of the things you check for when you get a breast cancer biopsy. And then from that's what we use to make treatment decisions. So it's a very unique protein to breast cancer, but it is also seen in some other cancers in the body.
We have a question from Rudine. I hope I said your name correctly. What does life look like after cancer treatment is complete? And I know there's a lot of cancers out there, but does anyone want to tackle that question?
Well, life should be ongoing. As I always describe it as a road bump. You'll probably have, Farah can probably comment on this too, Dr. Hong. You'll probably have certain fears about, what if it recurs? How do I manage it? But life should continue. Your hair will come back. Your energy will come back. The foggy brain should get better. Right, Farah? How are we doing with those things? I see hair.
I'm still blaming on chemo. I'm still going through chemo.
Right.
So I have that chemo brain. It is something that affects you. Right. But like you said, life, it goes on, and it goes on even when you're going through treatment. It has to go on. You have to constantly to keep moving, no matter what. You have to do it. You have a support system. God forbid someone that does not have a support system, but you are your best asset. So you support yourself, keep smiling, and then just push. No pain, no gain. That's what I myself.
You know, and here's a comment from someone, Billy. As a 19-year BRCA survivor, you are so on point to stay positive during treatment, sending good vibes your way, Farah. Keep smiling, your beautiful smile. So I love those encouraging messages. So Farah, yeah, I'm just going through some of the messages. How do you feel when you hear that you are an inspiration to so many people?
Of course, the teary-eyed is coming, and it's very emotional because it's a good feeling. It's not about me. It's about me, but not about me, because I'm not the only one that has gone through it. And if you don't share your story some type of way, you never know how somebody else needs to hear going through a double mastectomy or HER2 positive breast cancer, or I collapsed in my husband's arms or in somebody's arms in some type of way. You never know how your story or what you're going through would be an inspiration for someone else. When I hear that, I'm extremely humbled, and I'm so ecstatic. So yes, my husband just come. I see you, yeah. And he said the chemo brain is a doozy. So it really is. We joke about that all the time. It is a doozy, but just hearing it, I thank everyone for the warm accolades. I thank everybody for the support. Massey constantly supports and boosts that motivation. You can call for anything. I'll call about, do you like my lipstick today? The nurses will comment on the lipstick. Every time I go into chemo, I have a new lipstick on. So my husband will tell you I buy too many lipsticks, but I do it because you don't want to look like what you're going through. When I had the bald head and everything, I would have the little slouch hat on and have a lipstick, put a little bronzer on, but
it made you feel good.
It did. So thank you, everyone, from the bottom of my heart, from not the bottom of my entire heart. I thank you for the amazing inspiration that you're giving me. So thank you. And thank you, Massey. I can't thank you all more than what I already have.
I have to say something because, you know, doctors, this is not an easy job that we do. And, you know, we save patients, we lose patients. I mean, we become a family. Everyone on this call, you know, we become family with our patients, and, you know, we have their highs, we have their lows. We all, and having a patient like you is just, it keeps us going. It really does. I mean, I think that you should know that because you're thanking us, but, you know, at the end of the day, like, we have to thank you too, because not only, you know, do you have this strong strength of, you know, courage and sense of self, and, you know, you're helping yourself and those around you and keep your family. Women are the center of the family. I mean, that's the hardest thing about taking care of women with cancer, is that their families just sort of, you know, can sometimes fall apart. They just don't know what to do. It's like your daughter, like, you know, what's going to happen? Like, we just have to thank you.
Oh my good, the tears.
That was a good point. Good point, Dr. Randall.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I just had to say
it. Well, Dr. Hong, can you tell me how important are these stories from the patients who are going through it or went through it? How important is it to hear that?
So I have to tell you, I started doing survivorship in 2008, and the patient stories is how I learned about the impact that cancer has on patients. And the patient stories are what motivated me to become a better doctor, to advocate for more holistic, comprehensive care. It really is, I think, incredibly important for people to share their stories. Not only is it life affirming, but it also inspires other people. It helps people feel alone. Even if you have a family of 10 siblings, if you're the one person with cancer, you feel completely alone. And so connecting to somebody that is like you, that has been through what you've been through, and showing you what it's like to come through it the other side with a positive attitude like Farah is incredibly inspiring. And it's what actually helps people get through the day.
So true. We had a question from one of our viewers. Massey has recruited a lot of new physicians. What draws someone from a big name cancer center? What makes Massey so attractive to some of these doctors?
Well, since I'm a recent recruit, I can tell you, and I was in Chicago for a very long time. I think the mission, the vision, the passion is not lost. I think, a lot of medical centers are struggling with competing priorities, and that is not at all the sense I got here. I would not have picked up my teenage daughter and moved across country to a state that I don't know anybody. Because I think, all of us are here because it's not just a job, it's our life's mission to practice medicine in a patient-centered, holistic, comprehensive way. And really, Massey gives that. That is what attracted me to move across country.
How's your daughter? I have to ask. Is she okay now?
You know what? She doesn't hate me anymore. So that's, we're doing great.
That is great.
Yay. So
does any other doctor
recruit too? And I just add really quickly that I saw a need here. There's just like this great bones of this cancer center, and there's some trials going on, but they're so worthy of this comprehensive designation. They're so worthy, and this community and this area is so worthy of having access to more of these trials and being able to participate in moving the field of cancer forward. So that is really what attracted me, and the diversity of the population attracted me as well.
And where did you come from, Dr. Randall?
I came from Irvine, California.
Oh.
So I'm actually from Kentucky, and then was out in California for about 15 years. And I was at a comprehensive cancer center out there, but really saw, I could really use what I learned there and help here.
Well, Dr. Hackney, I know you've been here for 25 years, but why do you think or heard why some doctors may be coming here?
Well, and I can also say why I've stayed and haven't left is because I really think the VCU is really the VCU health system, and the cancer center particularly, is a community, we're a family. And I feel as comfortable picking up the phone and calling any of the colleagues on the panel or in my group to either have a glass of wine or break bread or take care of a patient, because we all support each other. And I think we are a community supporting the community. And I think there's so many opportunities to sort of echo both Dr. Randall and Dr. Hung. There's so many opportunities. We started the rural cancer program in 1989, and it's evolved. There's now we have more clinics in the rural setting. We've got this huge bone marrow transplant program, cellular immunotherapeutics program. We've got, all these multidisciplinary groups. We're bringing in Dr. Hung for, new and better ways of taking care of patients. We work as a family, and we're taking care of a family. And so that's why. And I think people coming in realize that they really get to be part of a group that puts patient care excellence first. Mm-hmm. Yes, we want those researchers who have those brains to think of new drugs, but really we want to put that hands-on to patients and make their lives better and better without cancer. And we also have that same mission.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Dr. McGuire, you got here not too long ago, right?
Yeah. Yes. And I think in my career, I've been lucky to work at some pretty amazing places. And what drew me here really was that energy. I could tell that this was an amazing cancer center that nobody knew about it just yet. I mean, we all know about it here in Richmond, But you know, it's the energy and the drive, the willingness to change and accept that the cancer care we give today is not the cancer care we'll give 10 years from now.
Right.
Those are the sorts of things that you actually don't see at every cancer center. A lot of cancer centers have a way that they do it, and that's the way they're going to do it no matter what. And with us being a team and us being a family, is just like every family, things are going to change and people are going to grow, and that's the excitement you feel here at Massey, and the ability to really take care of people who really are just wonderful and fantastic human beings.
You know, I have another question from someone. It says, it asked, this program started 26 years ago. What are some of the biggest advances since Women in Wellness began? That's a loaded question.
So much has happened. I can say for breast and ovarian together is probably genetics. Being able to identify people who are at risk for cancer and to do these preventative surgeries. You know, I know that between the HPV vaccine for cervical cancer and identifying genetic ovarian cancer, those are probably the two most important things that have happened in my career so far. I mean, there's so much more that will happen in the future.
Yeah. I would just like to say, if you look at all of the faces on this Zoom webinar here, that's one of the biggest changes. I don't think that you would have seen an all-female panel 26 years ago of leaders in a cancer center. That, you know, and you certainly would just, you know, this is an amazing time we live in, where women can be treated by women if they choose to, women can be treated by men if they choose to. You can find an amazing provider who looks like you, comes from your community, that, you know, understands what's important to you as a person. And that's it. I was just sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, we're all women. It's amazing.
It's changed.
No offense, Dr. Wynn.
Well, we would keep our program going and continue to, if you have a question, continue to ask the question in the Q&A section there. And I know someone will get back to you with an answer, but we will keep our program moving. Traditionally, Women in Wellness has always been about supporting the Massey mission through fundraising. And as we know, this year is a little bit different, but the need still remains the same. Today is about bringing powerful women together virtually to share good news, raise awareness, and advance the fight to end cancer. It is also still about rallying support for Massey, for Dr. Wynn's, and our collective vision for a world without cancer, and the day when none of us here today, including Farah, will have to worry about cancer ever again. CBS 6 is proud to sponsor Women in Wellness, and many of you and folks around Richmond, Virginia, and beyond this year stepped up to make a tribute gift as a way to support Women in Wellness and to honor or remember a friend or a loved one impacted by cancer. And I would like to ask Dr. McGuire to share with us the impact of philanthropy on women's cancer research and to share some new opportunities for us to pitch in. Dr. McGuire.
So I think it's easy to see that we are all so inspired every day by the strength and fortitude of our patients. And that I do really want to reiterate the importance of the research that we do now and that we'll be doing in the future. So many of you, I can't thank you enough for being so very generous with your investments you've made in Massey's mission and our researchers already, including this year's tribute. So thank you all so much for your generosity and the love that you show us. You've met Dr. Wynn. You know that he has an amazing and bold mission for Massey to join the ranks of those top cancer research hospitals in the nation, to get that comprehensive cancer center status, so that we can demonstrate our excellence. Virginians really deserve the best in breast cancer prevention, care, and treatment and outcomes beyond cancer. And our ability to provide that really is because of you. So to help us get there, we are continuing to invest in women's cancer research initiatives. We are looking at ways to improve cancer care, cancer outcomes. We are looking at all of the things that we've talked about in terms of the reduction in how badly you feel during cancer or after cancer, how to make the right decision during cancer, and all of the things that get rolled in that lots of people don't think about as research. Those initiatives, growing and expanding those kinds of programs, our teams and our clinical trials for women's cancer are what we're really looking to grow and enhance over the next few years. And we are all here for a reason. We all share an investment in this community and in this community's health and the health of the women around us. So I'm really hoping that you all will consider joining me today and making your most generous gift to invest in the science that's going to change the lives of the women, the men, and all of the people around you. So I really hope that you will consider joining us in that effort.
Thank you, Dr. McGuire. Did anyone want to add anything on just how important it is? Again, that philanthropic arm is so important to keep everything running. You have 100, what did you say, 100 trials going on right now?
Mm-hmm. And we need 100 more.
We need 100 more, yeah. And we need to help everyone get on them. So, so critical to have this funding.
Yeah, and we take care of all cancers here. I mean, we're talking a lot about breast and ovarian or gynecologic cancers, but there are a lot of other cancers that affect women as well. And so, and they may affect women differently than they may affect men. But, you know, we want to take care of all people, particularly women. Obviously, this is our women's group.
Yeah, women in wellness.
And cancer. And we want to provide good health for all.
Very true. Anyone have anything else to add on that topic? Well, I want to bring in Farah again with some of we're kind of winding down our program, some final words. Farah, I asked the other panelists this question earlier. What does thriving mean to you? Thriving, not just surviving cancer, but thriving.
Thriving by battling cancer. Of course, it means being able to wake up, wake up. I get to live. I'm thriving by the continued support from my husband, my children, my family, my employer, WM Jordan Company. It's being able to thrive and to actually just focus on the treatment, the doctors at VCU, oh my goodness, the nurses, even the other patients that we come in contact with. So thriving is just not staying in that moment and just knowing that you're allowed to have a moment. And as long as you don't stay in that moment mentally. So that's how I continue to thrive daily.
And do you have I'm sure your kids had a lot of conversations. I know your daughter kind of took it a little hard in the beginning. How is she now? She's
good. When I showed her the interview that you did, she cried. And so it brought me to tears. She cried, and she just thinking back everything that we've gone through as a family last year, and then what we're going through as a community, and just to see that I'm here. And she said she's excited to see my hair grow back. And I actually decided to keep it short while I continue treatment. I still have about 9 more treatments left and 2 more surgeries. So so instead of worrying about my hair, I'm gonna just focus on more lipsticks in my treatment.
I love your hair short. It's beautiful. I saw the pictures when it was longer, but I love it short.
I would not have had the courage to cut my hair if I did not get diagnosed. So it gave me some extra strength and some new confidence. I always try to find some positivity in something that's negative. So that's another way for me to thrive. Just live and be in that moment, and then treat other people how I want to be treated on a day-to-day basis.
Yes. And you know, I know you love your lipstick, but you say you have like 60 tubes of lipstick, right?
I mentioned that number to my husband. He said it's probably more than that. He said I probably could give at least 2 lipsticks to the ladies on our block, in our entire subdivision. So I was like, no, but you might be true. You might be right.
So you have a new lipstick, and it's called, the title is
I Am Powerful. So, and I love it. It's by Milani, and I love the lipsticks, and they have great affirmations. So today, because it was fitting for the women in wellness, I am powerful. So I wanted to pay my respects to you all as well.
Oh, I'm gonna get that lipstick. I love that title.
It.
Well, ladies, it was just great just having this conversation with you, and I hope the people who are watching us was, able to get something out of it, because you were incredible, you were fabulous. And again, if you have questions, still put your questions in the comments, and I know we can get someone to answer those questions. Again, Dr. Randall, thank you very much. Dr. McGuire, Dr. Hong, Dr. Hackney, and Ms. Farah, thank you so much for being here. And it was truly my pleasure of being your mistress of ceremonies, your MC today. And thank you again for tuning in for the 2021 Women in Wellness event, and for continuing to stand with Massey. And we're just hoping that we'll be back at the Jefferson maybe next year, but this was still great. And please stick around to enjoy the music and to see our tribute wall with inspiring messages and gratitude, remembrance, and hope. And don't forget, you can still make a tribute gift and stay involved through our upcoming events and opportunities to meet and to engage with Massey Nation. I love that, Massey Nation. So until we meet again, thank you and have a blessed day. I hope you had a good time. I know I did. Thank you, ladies.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Take care.